Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayat. For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to the goddess of fortune, Mother Saraswati, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. And today we are reading from the third canto, the status quo, and we are on chapter 4. Yes, chapter 4. I really prepared for the wrong verse yesterday, so I discovered that during Japa earlier today. Chapter 4, and we are on text 7.
You just go to that verse, right?
Okay, what did I do with it? I'm happy to speak on the verse where we are at. So verse 7, and we can read one Sanskrit word at a time. Shyama avadatam virajam prashanta aguna lochanam dobi chatubi viditam pita kosha ambarena cha Shyama vadatam virajam prashantahanu lochanam dobhischatubi viditam vita kosham varena cha Shyama vadatam virajam Shanta unalochanam Dobhischatubi viditam Pita kosham varena cha Shyama vadatam virajam Ashanta unalochanam Dobhischatubi viditam Pita kosham varena cha
Avadatam virajam
Prashanta unalochanam
Vishchaturbir viditam
Dobhischatubi viditam Pita kosham varena cha
Vadatam Virajam
Shyama Vadatam Virajam
Pashantarunalochanam
Pashantarunalochanam
Vishchaturvirviditam
Vishatubividitam
Vitakastam Varenacha
Vishakam Sharabhiracham Shyama Vadatam Virajam Virajam Chantarunalochanam Vishatubividitam Pitakosham Varenacham. Someone online would like to chant the verse?
Shayam Vadatam Virajam
Yaman Vadatam Virajam
Prashantaranalochanam
Pashantarunalochanam
Durvishchaturviditam
Vishatubividitam
Pitakosham Varenacha
Pitakosham Varenacham. Okay, word for word translation. Shyama Avadatam,
Shama Vadatam,
beautiful with black color.
beautiful with black color.
Virajam,
Virajam,
formed of pure goodness.
formed of pure goodness.
Ashanta,
Prashanta,
peaceful.
peaceful.
Auna,
Aruna,
reddish.
reddish.
Lochanam,
Lochana,
eyes. Dolby,
Durvi,
by the arms. Chaturbi,
Chaturvi,
for.
four.
Viditam,
Viditam,
being recognized.
being recognized.
Pita,
Pita,
yellow. Kosha,
Kosha,
silken.
silken,
Ambarena,
rain,
with garments.
garment,
Cha,
chapel,
and.
and
Translation: the Lord's body is blackish, but is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. His eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. I could immediately recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his four hands, different symbolic representation, and yellow silk garments. There is no purport, so I will go to text 8. Bamaurava distritya dakshinangri saroruham apashritar bhakavan tam akrisham Pipalam Vame on the left, Uro Tai Adikshritya placed on Dakshina Angri Sororuham, the right lotus foot, Apashrita taken rest against Arbakshaka, young, Ashvatam, banyan tree, Akrisham, cheerful, Tyakta, having left, Pipalam, household comfort. Translation: the Lord was sitting, taking rest against a young banyan tree, with his right lotus foot on his left thigh, and also he had left all household comforts. He looked quite cheerful in that posture. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Lord's sitting posture, keeping his back against a newly grown banyan tree, is also meaningful. Ashvata, the banyan tree, is so called because the tree does not die very quickly. It continues to live for many, many years. His leg and their energies are the material ingredients, which are 5 in all: earth, water, fire, air, and sky. The material energies represented by the banyan tree are all products of his external potency and are therefore kept on his back. And because this particular universe is the smallest of all, The banyan tree is therefore designated as small. As a child, Tyakta Pipalam indicates that he had now finished his pastime in this particular small universe. But since the Lord is absolute and eternally beautiful, there is no difference between his living or accepting something. The Lord was now compared to live this particular universe and go into another. So the Lord was now prepared to leave this particular universe and go into another. Just as the sun rises on one particular planet and sets in another simultaneously, but does not change its own situation. Sorry. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jala Shalakaya Chakshun Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Datati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Dagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kamta Radha Kamta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanshakalpa Tarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Askachade Jatarine. The Lord's body is blackish, but is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. His eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. I could immediately recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his 4 hands, different symbolic representations, and yellow silk garments. The Lord was sitting, taking rest against a young banyan tree, and his right lotus feet on his left thigh. And also he had left all household comfort. He looked quite cheerful in that posture. Hare Krishna. So we are going to discover together the content of those 2 verses and purport. To situate to situate what's happening here. So Vidura with the uncle of the Pandava are the heroes of the battlefield, Kurukshetra, Arjuna being like the listener of the Bhagavad Gita, to just situate. So Vidura, the uncle of Arjuna, he left for a pilgrimage after being like shooed away from the palace by his the antagonist of the Pandava, by Duryodhana, his nephew. And he went on a pilgrimage for many, many years. In fact, we are 30 years into his pilgrimage time. And during his pilgrimage, he was going up north and he met Uddhava. Uddhava is the cousin brother of Krishna. And in fact, Uddhava is described as having the same feature of Krishna. So he looked very much like Krishna. He's a Yadu. And so, of course, when they met, Vidura, he has been away from home for so long. He asked a lot of questions. He wanted to know about the Yadu, the Vrishni. He wanted to know about the Pandavas. He wanted to know about everyone. And he asked questions. And he also asked philosophical questions, like about the Lord and also all that. And Vidura, for the last 3 chapters, he was responding to Uddhava responded to Vidura's questions, and he described all that when he saw, and then he came to the final end. The final end is about Krishna and what's happening for Krishna. And in the last few verses, he was describing the destruction of the Yadu dynasty or the family of Krishna. And then we are coming to a place of what's happened to Lord Sri Krishna and his final pastime, how he left the planet. And so Uddhava has so much affection and so much love for Krishna that when he saw that Lord Krishna was leaving the palace, leaving Dwarka, he followed him. He said, I cannot bear, I understand that the Yadu is going to be destroyed. I cannot bear separation from the Lord. I'm sensing something is happening, he's going to depart. Let me follow him. And he followed him until this scene that we are just encountering, a scene where Lord Sri Krishna, after walking for a while, sat down on the back of the small banyan tree. So what I noticed first in that verse is the beauty. So I like to indulge us in like closing our eyes and then imagining, because the goal of human life is to fix the vision of the Lord inside our mind's eyes. When we fix the vision of the Lord in our mind's eyes, then we are directly in contact with the Lord. Like when we chant the holy name of the Lord this morning, dear Govinda Prabhu was reading about the holy name, and all we need to do is to be absorbed in the holy name, to be to the transcendental platform. So there is no difference between the name, form, pastime of the Lord. We're hearing about his pastime, and here we are going to hear about his form. So if we could indulge ourselves and just be with the description Uddhava gave us. The Lord's body is blackish, Shyama Sundar. And our bird is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. His eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. I could immediately recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his 4 hands, different symbolic representations, and yellow silk garland. The Lord was sitting, taking rest against a young banyan tree, with his right lotus feet on his left thigh. And also he had left all household comfort. He looked quite cheerful in that posture. So those descriptions in the Srimad Bhagavatam of the Lord given by the devotees when they are in contact with the Lord, they are very precious. And we want to learn to really dive into them, to take the time to see the blackish color, or to imagine the blackish color of the Lord. Plus we have a lot of, I was looking in that volume, but there is no picture of that specific scene, and we have so many pictures. I know Gauda Prabhu is very fond of all the pictures in all Srila Prabhupada's books, and I tend to neglect them. I tend to read, and then when I come to the picture, blink. But lately I have been taking the time to, when I arrive to the picture place, or when I read a pastime, I look, okay, is there a picture of that pastime, to really impregnate my mind with the hearing of the pastime, but also with a vision of the pastime. So as we read those descriptions of the Lord, we can take time to imagine his blackish color. I love that and his eternal, what does that mean? An eternal, blissful, full of knowledge form. To just ask a question, what does that look like? And then is very, very beautiful, most attractive one. It's one of his opulence that is very, very beautiful. And you're just like, okay, well, there's so many things we love that are beautiful. So to take all of them and imagine that the Lord is the source of all those things that we think are most beautiful. And they are just a very small quantity of his beauty in reality. His beauty is far beyond the most beautiful thing in this universe. And the part that touched me the most in that description is I are always peaceful. To like, it's so special when we see peace in someone's eyes, and his eyes are always peaceful. Just by connecting with Krishna's eyes, they are peaceful. And and then the next one is reddish like the rising morning sun. And that's very beautiful. Every time we see a rising sun, and as devotee, most of the time we are enjoying to rise before the sunrise. So we are very, very lucky. We get to see the sunrise. A lot of people don't get to see the sunrise. It reminds me of a time I had just a few weeks ago. I was with Bhaktin Kelly, and we were on the ocean. And we were so excited to run to the beach to see the sunrise. And there is that energy, and I feel like it's his eyes are always peaceful. When the sunrise, there is such a beautiful, peaceful energy every day. And the Lord is described that the sun and the moon are like his eyes, and we can experience that peaceful eyes of the Lord every day when the sun rises. It seems that nothing exists, and everything is in perfect order and in perfect orchestration, that there is no need of any reformer, or everything is complete and perfect at that moment. And then when we see the color, that color reddish from the sun, then we can remember, oh, and like the eyes of the Lord have that reddish hue, like that sun. And so we get to remember the Lord with, again, the ultimate purpose of sadhana bhakti is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. So we want to orchestrate our life in such a way that we have so many things that remind us of the Lord.
You think the reddish, is that around his eye or like his actual eye?
Well, that's an interesting thing, because from our perspective, white eyes is the best.
Right.
And it seems that every time there is description of Krishna or Vishnu's lotus eyes, they are described like lotuses. And our lotuses, the white is not quite white, but it's not a pink either. It's kind of somewhere. It's like the lotus is white, but there is some like spider vein or something like that, giving a reddish hue. And so the Lord is described with eyes with a reddish hue like that. What it means exactly, I will tell you when I see the Lord. It's a mystery, however, it's like, yeah, it's what our mind is made for. I tend to absorb my mind in dramatic situation and make myself suffer. And that's true. I do that a lot. And we can choose to absorb our mind. Is like, what is that reddish hue? What does it look like? Your question, perfect question, like a perfect question to live by. Every day thinking like, when our mind wanders, what's that reddish? Right, like the morning sun rising. So, and here, it's an interesting thing, like something that stimulates my brain also for with question, because Dwarkadish, so Krishna in Dwarka appear as a two-hand form Krishna, yeah? And at the same time, the two-hand form Krishna is said to never leave Vrindavan. And it's said that when Krishna lived Vrindavan, he lived Vrindavan in his Vasudev form, which is Vasudev form is a four-arm form, Krishna, you know, like Vasudev. And yesterday we were reading the Brahma, what's the name of the cows and the calf?
Brahma Vimohan Lila.
Mohan Lila in Krishna book reading. We were reading the Brahma Mohan Lila, and there is something similar happening there, because when Lord Brahma he stole all the calf and all the cowherd boys, and what he did, Krishna, like that was his mystic power. Lord Brahma wanted to play a trick on Krishna, thinking that he was more powerful than Krishna. And what Krishna did is that he expanded himself in all the cowherd boys and all the cows. He expanded himself. So much so that because he didn't want to create distress for the inhabitant of Vrindavan. He didn't want to create distress for the mothers of the cowherd boys. He didn't want to create distress for the cows that lost their calf. So he decided, I'm going to expand myself, and expanding himself in those thousands of cowherd boys and those thousands of calves and cows, young cows, and in an exact replica of the original one. So much so that when the kids went back home or the cow went back home, the mother could recognize them. And at the same time, an interesting details about that is that even so the mother could recognize them, they also felt an increase of attachment, an increase of affection, because the form was there, their little boy. The character was exactly, because Krishna is omniscient, so he knows each of those cowherd boys by heart, like he knows all our heart, you know, us, like we will never know us really, you know, us so perfectly. So he knew the heart of each and every of those cowherd boy and calf. And at the same time, because he was Krishna, that was gave him to Balaram, in fact. Balaram was wondering, what's going on here? Like the cowherd men, they are so affectionate to their boys, and the cow are so affectionate to their older calf. This is strange. There is something strange happening here. So it was Krishna, and he was covered, like those form, expansion of Krishna, they were all Vishnu form, which Brahma discovered at one point when he comes back and he sees all of those cowherd boys and he's quizzical. He's like, what's happening here? They are in my cave. I put them to rest, but they are here. And then when he was quizzical and confused, then Krishna kind of took away the veil of Yoga Maya and revealed, okay, here's God. Form. So here is a little bit the same. Krishna is manifesting as two-armed Krishna in Dwarka, but he's really not Krishna, he's Vasudev. And it seems that in this pastime, when Uddhava followed and Krishna sat down, the form that Uddhava saw is the personality of Godhead, the four-armed Vishnu. You know, it's just from that description with the difference, you know, like Lord Vishnu have different symbols. He has two symbols for the devotees, the conch and the lotus flower. Oh, here, thank you. Here, we could have absorbed ourselves here. And then he have a disc and a club. Oops. He have a disc and a club in his two other hands to kill the demons. Because from the first chapter, we learn Paritranaya Sadhunam, so that the Lord comes, and why he comes to give protection to the devotees and to kill the demons. And of course, we know that he doesn't need to come to kill the demons, but he needs to come to kill some demons, because those specific demons, they're not quite demons. They always remember the Lord in anger. Anyway, so that's an interesting detail that Uddhava is giving us here. That he saw the Lord in his Vishnu form, beautiful, blackish, with reddish hue in his eyes, with peace, and his four symbols. And then there is a description of the banyan tree and how he was sitting with his right leg on his thigh. And I noticed in the picture of the acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta, that's how also they sit. And you know, I don't know about yoga so much. So, and it seems that the great devotees also sit that way. So we can try. I was trying during Japan to to put my right foot and think of the Lord doing that. And it's so sweet. It's so human-like while godly at the same time to see the Lord. And in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explained how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur give a meaning to that position of the Lord. Him sitting as a Vishnu form against a young banyan tree with his right foot on his thigh. He gave a meaning to it. And it's an interesting purport where Srila Prabhupada expand how the back against the young banyan tree is like a representative of how the external energy of the Lord and the inert matière, gross nature, ether, air, and fire, water, and earth, they are on the back of the Lord. And then his front is his, you know, internal energy. And something very crushing, I imagine, that this is the smallest universe. Isn't it crushing? So crushing. We are so important American people, and we are part of the smallest universe in a cosmic manifestation. Oh, no, 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 no. You remind me of the story. Once Lord Brahma, he went to Dwarka. He went to Dwarka, so he knocked at the gate of Dwarka, and the doorkeeper comes and he said, first of all, the doorkeeper didn't know who he is. He said, who are you? That was crushing already for Lord Brahma. He said, come on, I'm Lord Brahma. And he said, go and tell Lord Krishna that I'm here. And so the doorkeeper, he left Brahma outside, out crushing. He's like Brahma, he can be puffed up, you know, he go into a little bit arrogance, puffed up because he's so intelligent and he's a creator of the universe. So he was at the door and like he was not even offered to enter. And so the doorkeeper went to Krishna and said, oh, Lord Brahma is here to see you. And Lord Krishna said, which Lord Brahma? And the doorkeeper was like, oh, I don't know, let me ask him. And so the doorkeeper went back to the door and he went to see Brahma and he said, oh, I told Lord Krishna that Lord Brahma was here and he asked me, which Lord Brahma? So for Lord Brahma, it's not really difficult to take. He said, what about that? Tell him that I am the forehead Lord Brahma. So, you know, like the doorkeeper went and then they opened and then, of course, when Lord Brahma saw the Lord, he offered obeisances very humbly. He touched the ground with straw in his mouth because he was in front of his creator, the cause of all causes. And then you know, he spoke like to Krishna offering prayer. And then at one point he said, well, I have a question. We have a question because you ask to the doorkeeper, you say, which Lord Brahma? And then just at that time, Krishna, who is the master of all mystic, he brought all the Brahmas from the different universe. And they had like 10 and hundreds and thousands and 10 of thousands and hundreds of thousands of head. And in fact, Lord Brahma with his forehead was the one that was the smallest one. So we are in a smaller universe with a smaller Brahma. Oh God, me. And that gives us another experience of a meditation that sometimes in my bed when my mind is crazy, I try to do that meditation. Like I try to see, okay, I'm in my bed and my bed is on the floor and the floor is a house and the house is leaning on Mother Earth. And I'm in that town called Alachua, and that's the town of Florida. And Florida is one state of America, and America is one continent of Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is one of the planets of the medium planetary system. And there is lower planetary system, and there is unlimited amount of planets in this universe. And this universe is the smallest universe with unlimited planet in it, among unlimited amount of universe in a cosmic manifestation. And that cosmic manifestation is only 25% of the Paravyoma, the spiritual sky. And that's, it's easy to kind of feel an experience, to have the experience of insignificance. I think it's like Srila Jiva Goswami who said that that experience of feeling insignificant is very conducive for spiritual life. To really feel that, because what is that birth? That birth is like tottering, like I said, like it's like a drop of water tottering on a leaf. Like it just passes. It's not that important. It's not that to be taken so seriously. I tend to take my life so seriously, what's happening in my life so seriously. But there is nothing serious to take there. It's not that important. It's just tottering. And even the things that are so important today, they will not be important in tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or in a month or 2 months or 10 years. And they were not important yesterday, and they were not important 10 years ago. And we were still existence, because as the Lord is Satchitananda, full of eternity, eternity is also existence, knowledge and bliss. We too are full of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So, and the material energy cannot touch us. In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it's explained about the nature of the soul, and the nature of the soul is it cannot be slain, or it cannot be even cause one to be slain. It's everlasting, all pervading, cannot be cut by a weapon, it cannot be burned by fire. Nothing can destroy the eternal soul. Nothing can destroy the eternal soul. So here with that description of the small universe, it can put us back in a place of humility, of, like dropping, like Lord Brahma dropping the arrogance that we are anybody important that should be treated in any specific way. And then, of course, there is some Sankhya philosophy here about the 5 elements. I don't think I will go too much there. The material energy represented by a banyan tree are all product of external potency and are therefore kept in his back. It's not very important for the Lord, his external energy. And because its particular energy is the smallest of all, the banyan tree is therefore designated as small. So we can see how, there is a reality. Krishna is really there in his four-armed form, leaning on the banyan tree. That's a small banyan tree, and Uddhava is witnessing that. And at the same time, everything the Lord is doing is meaningful. So it's like, it's always true. Sometimes people say, oh, either one or another. They say, oh, there was no banyan tree, or there was no Vishnu, and there was no Uddhava. It's just the meaning of the material energy. No, that's not true. All those things were real, and because the Lord is omniscient, and because the Lord is constantly here to inform us, guide us, give us direction, everything he does is going to be very deeply meaningful. And the advanced devotee like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they know how to extract that meaning and to give it to us. So we are arriving at that time when Krishna is finishing his pastime in this particular universe. And in the 4th chapter, it says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetitat vatat. Jagvad deham punajama naiti so Arjuna. Mameti, mam. Naiti mameti so Arjuna. So he said, like, for one who understands, if we do understand Janma karma, Janma means birth and karma activities of the Lord, if we understand Isamai, but if we understand the birth and activity of the Lord, then we will not need to take birth again. He said, if you understand that, if you understand my transcendental pastime, if we understand the Lord, how the Lord come in this universe, and he come in this universe to different expansion, incarnation, and planetary expansion, and expansion of planetary expansion in so many ways. I'm studying the second part of the 20th chapter of Madhya Lila, and it's all about that. It's all about Krishna's expansion and all his Vishnu form, and how we distinguish his Vishnu form from the different symbolic representation. And to know that he's everywhere, he's all pervading with us. And that form that Uddhava is seeing leaning on a banyan tree is the same form that is accompanying us in our heart. In fact, the yogi, when they meditate, they see that form that Uddhava is seeing, they see it in the core of their heart, the Vishnu form. And of course, the devotee with the eyes anointed with love, they see Shyama Sundar in their heart, because Shyama Sundar reveals himself in their heart. So another part, so at the beginning, Maitreya, he say Maitreya. So that's we are at the beginning of the 3rd canto, and this is a turning point in the 3rd canto that will lead to have a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, and that conversation will go through the 3rd canto and to the 4th canto, like that. And because what's happened is Uddhava is junior to Vidura, and even so is an eternal associate of the Lord, and is closer in relationship, intimacy, and even so is still junior by age, and Vidura is his senior by position. He's on the level of his father, of Uddhava's father, and so at this transition, Uddhava is kind of bringing up the fact that whatever he heard from the Lord when the Lord departed, because when the Lord departed, he gave a lot of instruction. Of course, this is a very important pastime. When the Lord depart, or when the pure devotee depart, they really, as they leave the planet, as they leave us behind, they want to educate us, they want to guide us. So, of course, Vidura wanted to know, what did the Lord say? Because it's so important. I want to know. What did the Lord say as he was leaving the planet 5,000 years ago? And so Uddhava, because of his position and because what the Lord says is guidance, is shiksha go, like it's instruction, basically. Uddhava, it wasn't Uddhava's position to give those instructions to Vidura. So Uddhava now is bringing forth the fact that there was someone else came at that time, and his name is Maitreya. And it's interesting, I'm going a little too far here, but yeah, anyway. So I'm
You're
going
giving
to
us
the
a
next.
preview.
I'm giving you a preview, just
I
like,
don't want to spoil it.
yeah. So yeah, because I study for another course, so I'm confused. Okay, what time is it? Let's see. Maybe I can just end it here. It's good because I don't have much else to say for the moment. Yes.
I just wanted to know the relationships. Like I'm not clear on Uddhava and Maitreya and Vidura and Krishna. So I don't know who came when.
Okay.
Just to clarify those four.
Yeah. Yeah. So Uddhava is one of the family members of Krishna. He is a cousin brother from his father's side, I believe. His father's side, yeah, Vasudev. Is Vasudev's brother, son. So Uddhava, is an eternal associate of the Lord, and he was a companion of Krishna when Krishna came to Dwarka. And in fact, Uddhava is described to have such an amazing intelligence because he got trained by Brihaspati. I remember Brihaspati was his a spiritual master, so he was described as such intelligent that in his pastime, Krishna will take shelter of Uddhava, and he will inquire from Uddhava, get guidance from Uddhava. There is a situation like where Uddhava really guide Krishna in front of everyone. So Uddhava is described here that when Krishna indicated that he will destroy his family members and that he has a plan how to destroy them, Uddhava didn't want to be part of that, even so he's a family member, he's one of the few that lived through the destruction of the Yadu dynasty. And when Krishna left from Dwarka, knowing that that's going to happen and it was time for him to leave everything, he left behind in this purport, even so he left the comfort of his 16,108 palaces and 1,108 wives. He left that all comfort and he was peaceful. That's what the verse say here. So he left and he went walking, and Uddhava saw that and he decided, I cannot bear the separation from Krishna. So he followed him. And Krishna sat on a banyan tree here. That's where we are at. Then after the Lord left, Uddhava decided to go north on a pilgrimage because after Krishna left the planet, and Krishna told him to go to Pundarik Aksham or Badarik Aksham. So Krishna told him, go to Badarik Aksham and see the sages, go and form the sages of everything I gave you, go there and give them that knowledge. That's what he said to Uddhava. So before that, 30 years earlier, before the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Vidura left the Pandava, left Hastinapur because he was shoo away, and he went on pilgrimage. Yeah, he went on pilgrimage to different places, and Vidura is the uncle of the Pandava, and Duryodhana kind of insulted him. And when you're insulted, you're supposed to go to the holy places, to purify yourself. So that's what he did. He went to the holy places to purify himself. And so he was traveling to different places like that. And at one point along his pilgrimage, he crossed paths with Uddhava on his way to Badarik Ashram. Yeah. And when they crossed paths, they were in ecstasy to see each other. And for Vidura, he didn't know, he had heard about the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He had heard through the grapevine that there was the destruction of his family member. He had heard all that, but not really like in details. So when they see each other, they meet each other, Vidura being on pilgrimage for 30 years, Uddhava being on his way to Balaraksham to carry the message of Lord Krishna. Then they meet there and they start speaking. And many Vidura asking questions to Uddhava about all that. What's happening with my family member, what's happening with your family member. And mainly the most important topic is to speak about Krishna. And so all those questions, and then what's up, like what did Krishna leave behind when he left? So that's what's happening. They are speaking. However, because like Uddhava, he shared his emotion. There is so much emotion in what he shared. He shared his memories, and he was sharing his emotion. He was sharing all about those family members, about the Lord's departure. And there it stops what he's capable of giving to Vidura, because the rest, the instruction from the Lord, it will not be adequate or proper etiquette for him to take the position of a guru. He's not taking a position of a guru. He's responding to Vidura's question about family members. But when it comes to speaking about the instruction of the Lord, then that will mean that he will need to take the position of a guru. And he didn't feel it was proper etiquette or proper position to be a guru to his senior like that. And so the connection here is while Lord Krishna was, and we will read about it, I'm giving a preview of what's coming. But, it's, as we go to the Bhagavatam in our day-to-day classes, we go so quickly that sometimes hearing more than once helps us understand better. So with the previews, and we can dive into it the next time we hear about it more deeply. And that's why by reading Srila Prabhupada's books again and again and again, then we have so many previews, but every time we hear about it, it helps us to understand better what's happening. So while Uddhava, that's the next verse, I study the next verse. So the next verse, Uddhava will explain to Vidura that while I was there with the Lord, I followed the Lord sat down on a banyan tree, someone just came up out of the blue. And it describes that, it was very special because that person wasn't an eternal associate of the Lord, and that person wasn't even a pure devotee. But he came and he got to fully hear Krishna's instruction to Uddhava as he was, about to leave the planet. And because that person is a sage, Uddhava could see like, okay, this is a sage, and he's in a position, he could be in a position of being your spiritual master. If you want to know the instruction of the Lord, go to him. And that's what is going to happen in the next few verses. That the connection is Uddhava knew that someone else heard. Yeah. So, and I wish there was more awakening about someone else heard Prabhupada's instruction when he left the planet, and more memories. I don't understand that part. It's difficult because, okay, maybe there was steps that it was recorded and they were lost, but there were so many years. And why did they lose that knowledge? I don't understand. Anyway, that's side points. Maybe I can pray to have those revelations. Did I respond to your questions?
Yes, so Maitreya was there.
It was there by
He
chance.
heard everything, and then he was able to share with Vidura because of his senior position, and then so at some point,
Very soon in
Uddhava and Vidura together,
yes.
and they're talking, and eventually they separate, and then Vidura approaches Maitreya. That's the title of the chapter.
Yeah, exactly. What's happened is that right now, Vidura and Uddhava are together, and Vidura and Uddhava are together, and then Uddhava will acknowledge, okay, that's the limit. That's where I stop. And then if you want to know more, here is where you need to go. You need to go to find Maitreya and inquire from him about everything. And then that's when really the third canto start, like the action in the third canto and then the fourth canto. Yeah.
An interesting point the way you described it. There's some interesting bit of a mix that came to me about the essence of the form. Yeah, so okay, as far as the chronology, the past year or so here in our programs, we've been in those conversations between Uddhava and Vidura for the past year. We started the third canto about a year ago. For the next 20 years or so, at the pace we go, we'll be in the conversations between Vidura and Maitreya. I mean, it could go a lot faster, but we go at a particular pace, and it'll be about 20 years based on my calculations. True. It's till the end of the fourth canto, so that's another more than 60 chapters. Okay. Now it's interesting how you described it, Malini, because so Uddhava was like, oh, because of different etiquette that he followed, no, I will not share more. You should go, because Maitreya was senior to him, Vidura is senior to him. So you go to Maitreya. Okay. So because he's really more qualified.
Mm-hmm.
But you made the point, actually, Uddhava is a lot more advanced than Maitreya. Not that there's anything
So much more.
Maitreya, but Uddhava is this like really intimate associate.
Eternally.
Yeah, and Maitreya, clearly a special personality. He was hearing directly from. He happened to be he stopped by while Krishna was instructing Uddhava, but you know it must be
stumbled upon.
Yeah, stumbled upon, but it must be a special personality that would just stuff. So he's special. At the same time, he doesn't have near the intimate relationship with Krishna that Uddhava had. So Uddhava said, no, he's more qualified. But actually, Uddhava is most qualified. But out of humility, he played it the way he played it.
Yeah. Ultimately, also, like Shanma Karmachame, it's difficult to understand the pastime of the Lord and his pure devotee and why he does what. And why you will choose a certain person to be educating another person. Is Maitreya also when he share, he starts with sharing about the Lord, but then he shares so many pastimes.
Yeah.
And was it really what the Lord described, or was it he received transcendental knowledge from the Lord, and those transcendental knowledge manifesting through the stories? And the stories into the stories. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Any other comment, question about today's philosophical points from, I can maybe read the verse again. I didn't do that. The Lord's body is blackish, but is eternal, full of peace and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. His eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. I could immediately recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his 4 hands, different symbolic representation, and yellow silk garments. The Lord was sitting, taking rest against a young banyan tree, with his right lotus foot on his left thigh. And also, he had left all household comfort. He looked quite cheerful in that posture. That's such a beautiful visual, such a nice setting. The Lord, the banyan tree, his foot, his forearm form, his yellow, it's just so
fully captivating.
Fully captivating. Any other comment, question about today's verses? Purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's meaning of what's happening, or
But the Maitreya Rishi thing, I also think of just like time, place, and circumstance, or it's also maybe something like you don't need to be the most advanced to give instructions. A certain devotee may just be properly situated to give a certain instruction, so it's not like I need to be the most pure and most advanced. Oh, I shouldn't speak because or maybe I just have a better position due to time, place, circumstance, and social conditions to give a particular message. And then I don't need to be like, oh, I shouldn't speak because I don't have as much realization. It reminds me of marketing. We have marketing class that, we have certain people that we can reach that other people, maybe more advanced, wouldn't reach and connect with them as well. And so we each, like we talk about coach marketing. So it's like we have certain clients that, that, oh, this other coach is way better, but so they should go to them, but not necessarily, because maybe there's some, certain life experience and connection is better. Some good preaching also, that there's, that's what I'm at, getting from that pastime also.
Yeah, I really appreciate that one import we can get from that pastime. And I was kind of going like seeing that the perfection of, Krishna is arranged for Maitreya to be there. And then for Vidura to hear from Maitreya, not from Uddhava, and not because of his qualification, because he's described as not even pure devotee. And not Maitreya, he's described. Yes, he's described as not being a pure devotee. He's a sage, but he's not a pure devotee. He's described in the next verse. And and I appreciate because it's so clear to me that Krishna chooses who we direct people to. And on Sankirtan, when we do book distribution, it's so clear. It's so clear that this person is going to receive from me. And to imagine it's because I'm a pure devotee, that's illusion. They are receiving from me because somehow there's something about this, thing, body, incarnation, psychophysical nature, we name it, that is going to relate to that person for that person to receive Krishna. But it has nothing to do with my qualification. And for sure, it's not about qualification. And coaching is so many times people say, oh, I'm not qualified. I say, yes, you're not. It's very clear. Yes, you're not qualified. And to go there, and it's simple. It's very simple. Yes, you're not. And that person is coming to you, and it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to serve that person. It's your that's our responsibility to be gurus. Lord Chaitanya tells us, be all guru in your land. Be a guru in your land, every one of us. We are supposed to be gurus in our land. And people come to us, it's not because I'm qualified, pure, advanced, whatever. And I'm supposed to simultaneously feel like it's not because of my qualification. I have no qualification. And my responsibility is to be a guru. It's a simultaneous consciousness. I appreciate that. That's very important import of this pastime we are speaking about Uddhava sending Vidura to, because he could have also sent Vidura to Badarika ashram, because that's where he was going, and he would speak to the sages there. But I think it's very right. It's meaningful. Like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he is highlighting the meaning of the banyan tree, highlighting the meaning of the position of the Lord. So of course it's meaningful. Every aspect of the Srimad Bhagavatam is meaningful. Yeah, and you're highlighting a very important part of that. Yes.
I was touched when you spoke about how everything, of course, everything in connection with Krishna is meaningful. Something like that. Everything has deep meaning. And I was like, oh, I love that. And I was thinking earlier, you were saying about taking life too serious. And I was just thinking about the distinction between deep meaning
Mm.
and taking things too seriously. Like we're searching for something deeply meaningful. We're trying to take it, you know, but we're like, we're lost. Like we don't have enough knowledge about how to create deep meaning or how to find deep meaning. And then we're like, completely an illusion of what we're taking so seriously. It's like, just misplaced. Like there is a need in the soul for deep meaning, you know, and I that's something I'm really attracted to. It's like, I can't stand something just shallow and, mundane. Not that I don't do that. I just, there's a part of me that's really, really values deep meaning. And, but then what do I do with that part of me? Sometimes I'm over analyzing and I'm too much deep in a question, like as if it's so complicated. Why it could just be simple, because I'm overdoing the desire for deep meaning in the wrong direction. Anyway, I was just thinking about that.
Thank you, because we look at, okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Krishna, everything Krishna does is meaningful, and then we can expand it. Everything Krishna does is everything. Like that, Krishna is in our heart, is everywhere in this different form. He expands unlimitedly. So everything Krishna does is meaningful, and everything that is in our life is also meaningful. So how to kind of differentiate between like the drama of Prakriti, and like, okay, well, where we may indulge ourselves in material consciousness. And I do that a lot too, like in material consciousness, and where we are like, okay, I'm indulging myself, but it's not in material consciousness, spiritual consciousness and the meaning. And really, it seems that it comes back to really like recenter ourselves about the purpose of human life. Because then it becomes simple. Because, if the meaning is personal growth and all that, it can be zeros, a string of zeros, and then the string of zeros become like entangling, because it's always the material energy. It may be more subtle, it may be more sattvic, but still it's the material energy. And instead of like really going to the meaning is like, I'm part and parcel of Krishna. I'm eternally a servant of Krishna, and the goal and purpose of material creation, including this very moment and everything that's happening in my life, is for me to go back to Godhead. And then that's the meaning. And then here we have a basis to, instead of going into analysis, paralysis, we have the basis to really have our eyes open, with the Tarsha knowledge, through Srila Prabhupada's teaching, guidance. Then we see meaning, we see, okay, well, I can see at the core of that, there is so much love, and only love and care, and great opportunity for advancement, great opportunity to come closer to Krishna, great opportunity to also uncover what's in between me and Krishna, what's in the way of my relationship with Krishna. Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate where you went with that. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Thank you all. Crown Torah, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande Haribo.
Haribo.